So we're, I think, already on a part number 6 within regards to the United States of America over here. And we've already done many editions over here. And we're now more in the 21st century era. We're going to explore some more. There'll probably be another part over here, most likely, maybe another 2 parts still over here. I want to speak about more key rabbinic figures in the 20th, 21st century. Now we're coming into the 2000s territory. Technically, this could have been even a 100-part series if there's so much to cover when it comes to America in of itself. But I want to speak about some more key rabbis, and we're going to look at some more institutions in of its own right. Another key rabbi in America passed away in 2003 on the 17th of May was someone named Rabbi Yechiel Michel Feinstein, who was an ultra-Orthodox Rosh Yeshiva in Israel and also in the United States of America. So he was a key rabbi of in America. He was actually the son of Rabbi Avram Yitzchak Feinstein, who was born, I think, in Lithuania, which was then part of the Russian Empire. I think when he was 7 years of age, sadly, his father passed away, and he would go to live with his grandfather, someone named Rabbi David Feinstein, and who was a rabbi, I think, in Belarus at that point in time. And his uncle was Rabbi Moshe Feinstein. I think he would go to, if I'm not mistaken, to Slutsk after his bar mitzvah. He would study under Rabbi Issa Zalman Meltzer. And what's interesting, I think when the Bolsheviks would seize power in, I think, Rabbi Meltzer's yeshiva at that point in time, he would flee to Kletsko, Poland. And during his 3 years in Krisk, I think Rabbi Feinstein would attend lectures of Rabbi Meltzer, the great rabbi, and his son-in-law, Rabbi Aaron Kotler. And then he would transfer to Yeshiva Mir over there, where he would study with a Rabbi Yerucham Leibovitz at that stage in time. So afterwards, I think he would study in Brisk under Rabbi Yitzhak Zev Soloveitchik. Well, over there he would be interested. I think at that point in time, he might have to go to the army, so that would have been an issue for him. So he would then travel to Grodno, I think, to become, at that stage in time. And then I think he would actually speak to the Chavetz Chaim, Rabbi Yisrael Meir Kagan in Radin. And Rabbi Feinstein would stay in Grodno at that stage in time for about half a year, and he would sit under Rabbi Shimon Shkop, another great rabbi, and would eventually return to Brisk to continue studying under Rabbi Soloveitchik. He would spend 7 months in the famous Yeshiva Tamir. I think when the Second World War will break out, he would travel to Vilna with other students from the Mir. And from Vilna, I think Rabbi Feinstein will join the Mir Yeshiva in Jerusalem, in Japan, when they went, famous thing in Shanghai. He would eventually arrive in the United States of America in 1941 with Rabbi Aaron Kotler, another great rabbi he was. He would become the mashgiach for Rabbi Joseph Soloveitchik in Boston, and less than a year later he would join his uncle Rabbi Moshe Feinstein, who was the head of the Metivta Tiferet Jerusalem on the Lower East Side of Manhattan. And I think he was appointed a member of the Agudat Rabbanim. He would assist, I think, at that point in time, the Va'ad Hatzalah in rescuing Jews and aiding the war refugees of Europe at that stage in time. It's very, very interesting. Friends, anyone tuning in live, we are exploring the history of the United States of America, the Jewish community, so please subscribe to the channel and join our community, friends, over here. Okay. And then in Israel, I think it was in the year 1946, Rabbi Feinstein visited Palestine. I think it was in August. He would marry someone named Livsha, if I'm not mistaken. She was the daughter of his former teacher, Rabbi Soloveitchik, in Jerusalem, and then he would return to America and would continue as a Rosh Yeshiva until the year 1952. I think then him and his family would emigrate to Israel and establish Yeshiva Bet Yehuda in Tel Aviv, and he would serve as a Rosh Yeshiva there. Come 1973, after the death of, sadly, of his... I think one of his daughters sadly passed away. He would move to Bnei Brak, and he would pass away on the 17th of May in 2003. He's the author of the famous book called the Chidushei Hagrim Feinstein, if I'm not mistaken, also over there. Famous family tree in early 2000s. Would see many famous rabbis. Maybe in the next edition we'll speak about Rabbi Shlomo Rifkin, who was an Israeli-American-born rabbi, I think the last chief rabbi of St. Louis in 2005. If I'm not mistaken, he'll become a chief rabbi until he passed away in 2011. it was a time period of various other famous rabbis, let's just say. Rabbi Jonathan Sachs would later come to America, I think, after he finished his role as a chief rabbi of United Kingdom. I think he would eventually go to America at one stage in time. He was knighted, actually, in the United Kingdom in 2005. We're going to speak about many rabbis in of itself, so that's something that's very much important to talk about. Another key rabbi in especially Yeshiva University world, I believe, and in Sephardic world, is Rabbi Chaim Angel. I think we spoke about him actually in a previous class. He is an American academic rabbi, you could say, and he's part of the Jewish Ideas and Ideals, which was founded by his father, Rabbi Mark Angel. He has taught advanced Bible classes for undergraduate, graduates, rabbinic studies at Yeshiva University. I think since 1996, he also serves a Tanakh faculty and Beit Midrash in Teaneck. And I think he's an educator at Yeshivat Ben Porat Yosef School in New Jersey, if I'm not mistaken, and has been a rabbinic scholar, if I'm not mistaken, of the congregation Kehilat Yeshurim over there. Also, that's something also we've got to point out now. I think Rabbi Angel taught advanced, let's say, Torah courses to undergraduates, graduates, rabbinical studies at university. I think he would also serve as a rabbi of Congregation She'erit Yisrael in New York City between 1995 to 2013. That's a key figure. And the rabbinic scholar in the famous Congregation Kehilat Yeshurim, I think for several years afterwards. He would receive his BA in Jewish Studies in Yeshiva College. Over there he'd be in Azraeli Graduate School also. And I think he would get from the RIET, the Rabbi Isaac Elchanan Theological Seminary of Yeshiva University. He really is an academic. He has written more than 150 scholarly works, especially on the Hebrew Bible over here, and is an editor, I think, of Conversations. I think it's a journal in, let's say, of the Institute for Jewish Ideas and Ideals, and he serves in the editorial boards of Traditions of the Megadim, also respectively over there. So, that's very, very interesting. So another key rabbi, you could say, in American Jewry at that point in time was someone named, famous rabbi, named Rabbi Aaron Lopiansky. Who is he? He was born actually in 1953, currently a rabbi over there. He Rosh Yeshiva at the Yeshiva of Greater Washington, Tiferet Gedalia. I think he's written more than 20 books on Torah thought, liturgy, philosophy. Was I think arrived in New York's Lower East Side. He's a son of Holocaust survivors. He was immersed in Torah learning at a young age. He would attend Rabbi Jacob Joseph School. He would be outstanding over there. It became apparent his brilliance at even a young age. You can say afterwards he would have rabbinic training, which would start in Yeshivat Meir in Jerusalem under famous rabbis at one time, including famous Rabbi Chaim Shmulevitz, who we spoke about, and Rabbi Nachum Pertzovitz. I think he was also greatly influenced by his father-in-law, Rabbi Banish Finkel, if I'm not mistaken, the late Rosh Yeshiva of the Meir Yeshiva, and it was close association of Rabbi Moshe Shapiro, really great rabbis at the time. Anyone tuning in live, please subscribe to the channel now and join our community. We've got fantastic content over there. On the first day of Hanukkah, but we're exploring the history of United States of America and Jewish history. Now, Rabbi Lopiansky will begin his teaching career actually at Yeshivat Eish HaTorah in Jerusalem. He would teach between the years 1983 to 1990. And then he would teach, I believe, in the Meir Yeshiva for 5 years. In 1994, the headmaster, I think, of the Yeshiva of Greater Washington, Rabbi Yitzhak Merkin, would reach out to Rabbi Lopiansky, who was then serving as a Makid Shiur at the Yeshiva Meir Yerushalayim, I think at that point in time, and would offer to become the Rosh Yeshiva at the Yeshiva Gedola in Kemp Mill, I think in Maryland, respectively, if I'm not mistaken. So that was a key. He would actually write a book called Orchot Chaim, Ibn Torah, and I think during his speech in 2019 in an Aguda convention, Rabbi Elia Brudny, who was remarked, he would say that every day that has made the transition from the kollel to the workplace should at that point in time own, let's say, the book. He was, I think Rabbi Yosef Elephant, another great rabbi, would also quote about the book in itself. And he would do huge amounts of activities and contributions. He supported distribution of the Torah to Soviet Jewry. He taught in the Israeli army Hishtalmut program, which aims to broaden perspectives of the army's officers, corps, to become diverse facets of Israeli society. He's contributed to the Encyclopedia Talmud also, and sits on various different boards, including the Memorial Foundation for Jewish Culture. Among his English-speaking works, I think, for example, Timepieces, it's a collection of essays on Jewish holidays, also respectively. Over here. He's another key rabbi. Now, let's speak about now Rabbi Baruch Ben Hayim, one of the great Syrian rabbis of his time. He lived between 1921 and 2005. He was a great Syrian Sephardic Chacham from Brooklyn. He would serve as a rabbi of the Brooklyn Syrian community for 55 years. He would teach at Magen David Yeshiva, established Sharei Tzion Torah Center, a congregation Sharei Tzion, and he was a student very close to Rabbi Ezra Atiyah, the Rosh Yeshiva of Yeshiva Porat Zev. He was close to him, and he's a key rabbi. He was actually born in Jerusalem in 1921. He was one of the children of Rabbi Chaim Mizrahi and Rabbanit Miriam Shalom, who were both from Iraq. The family actually changed its family name from Mizrahi to Ben Chaim, the son of Chaim over there. After, I believe, Chaim, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was after. Yeah, this would be actually after Rabbi Chaim Mizrahi's passing in 1951 to honor the patriarch in of itself. I think it was at the age of 11, Rabbi Ben Chaim entered Porat Yosef Yeshiva. He was, let's say, part of a wonder class at that point in time. Great scholars, which include Rabbi Tzion Ben Abba Shaul, Rabbi Yehuda Moalem, Rabbi Tzion Levi, Rabbi Ovad Yosef, who was a chief rabbi later on, and Rabbi Ben Chaim was very close to Rabbi Yosef, who was his chavruta, apparently, a study partner from a young age, and I think would spend 15 hours a day learning Torah and study. Absolutely phenomenal. His rabbinic career was just went from strength to strength. I mean, you can see the brilliance in Gazim. He would receive his rabbinic ordination from Rabbi Ezra Atiyah. He also from Rabbi Ben Sion Meir Hai Uziel. He would serve as a Dayan on the Sephardi Bet Din in Jerusalem, together with Rabbi Atiyah and Rabbi Yehuda Shachar. In 1947, he accepted a rabbinical position, I think, in an Ashkenazi community in South Africa, where he would serve, I think, for 2 years. In 1949, he accepted the position of assistant chief rabbi of the Syrian Jewish community upon the request of Isaac Shalom, who was a president of Brooklyn's Magen David synagogue, who had asked, I think, Rabbi Atiyah to send another rabbi. I think Rabbi Ben Chaim would arrive in New York in January 1950, and 2 months later, he would become, I think, engaged to the daughter of Rabbi Jacob Kassin, who was a chief rabbi of the Syrian Jewish community in Brooklyn. The couple would marry in 1950 in May, and they had 4 sons, Rabbi Eli Ben Chaim, who was, I think, the spiritual leader of Lawrence Avenue Synagogue, Rabbi Dr. Yaakov Ben Chaim of Congregation Sharei Tzion, Rabbi Dr. Yehuda Ben Chaim, and David Ben Chaim, respectively. Also, Rabbi Ben Chaim would also serve as assistant rabbi to Rabbi Kassin in Congregation Sharei Tzion, and he would make a number of very important contributions to the synagogue at that point in time, including the establishment of the Sharei Tzion Torah Center to educate the community in subjects of Torah and Jewish life. He officiated thousands of weddings, as well as bar mitzvahs and funerals. He also taught at Magen David Yeshiva for 3 decades, beginning in the early 1950s, and would spend several months each summer in Deal, at Bradley Beach in New York, addressing the strengthening of the Syrian Jewish community in those locales. As a public service, he recorded the Hebrew Tehillim with a proper ta'amim cancellation, and I think the recordings were released to the public during his lifetime and have been posted online after his death. I think especially on the Daily Tehillim website, a fantastic website they've got out there within regards to Jewish halacha also. Respectively, anyone tuning in live, welcome to our community, and please subscribe to the channel as we're exploring the American Jewish history community over here on what is a special edition over here. He was a leader of this Brooklyn Jewish community, displayed love for every Jew, reported over, and greeting the old and young alike in of itself, medicated disputes at that point in time, and other ways. I'm just going to take a short break. Hold on 1 minute, hold on. Hi, Shalom. Sorry, everyone, about that. Just a short delay there was over there. Sorry, just an interruption. As we're exploring Jewish community, we're exploring about Rabbi Ben Chaim, who was a great rabbi of the Syrian community of his time. I think it was in 2003. Unfortunately, he suffered from illness, and I think they would add the name Raphael to his Hebrew name, Baruch Raphael ben Miriam, he would actually be called, and he would recover, but I think he passed away in April 2005. And his funeral was held at 3 of the Brooklyn Syrian Jewish community leading organizations, Congregation Shaarei Zion, Magid David, Yeshiva, and the synagogue, respectively. And then I think he was eulogized. He was buried in Israel. He was eulogized by Rabbi Ovadia Yosef, Rabbi Eliyahu Bakshi Daron, and Rabbi Shlomo Amar, Rabbi Yehuda Moalem, and Rabbi Moshe Tzadka, and was buried on Har HaMenuchot in Jerusalem, one of the great rabbis without doubt in American Jewish community history. Who is Rabbi Eliyahu Ben Chaim, another great rabbi, a rabbi I've met before, on various occasions before. He was rabbi of the Mashadi community, he is. He was actually born in 1940. I've met him personally, had the zchut, the honor, and he would be Bet Din, the head of Jewish court of Mekor Chaim in Queens, in New York, prominent leader of New York Sephardic Jewish community. He is respectively. He was actually born in Jerusalem, mandatory Palestine. Obviously, I think his father was from Hamadan in Iran, and his mother's father from the Hasidot family of Georgia, if I'm not mistaken. In his youth, he would study at Yeshiva Porat Yosef also. He was a prodigy. He was a distinguished. He has a brilliant memory. Attended the shiur of Rabbi Ben Zion Abba Shaul. He would receive a rabbinic ordination from Rabbi Ezra Atiyah once again. Also in Porat Yosef, Rabbi Ben Chaim fostered a close relationship with Rabbi Ovadia Yosef, who studied, I think, Even HaEzer with him also. So he had the zchut of that huge community work. In 1962, at the age of 22, he still does huge community work in himself. I think when he was 22 years of age, he was appointed Magid Shir of Yeshiva Bet Harashal in Jerusalem. 5 years later, he became the Rosh Yeshiva. At that point in time, in 19th century, he began teaching at Lifshitz Teacher Seminary in Jerusalem. In 1975, he was sent by the Jewish Agency to serve as a rabbi in Tehran, interesting enough, where he hosted Rabbi Ovadia Yosef and Rabbi Ben Zion Abba Shaul during their respective historic trips to Iran. In Tehran, Rabbi Ben Chaim began serving the local community of Mashadi Jews as rabbi and chazan. In 1979, obviously with the Iranian Revolution, he went with his family to the United States and served as a chief rabbi of the Mashadi Persian Jewish community of Long Island. He lectured, I think, at the Yeshivat Rabbeinu Yitzhak Al-Chanan, Yeshiva University, Riyadh, respectively. He's considered a close friend of Rabbi Mordechai Eliyahu and delivered many eulogies for him. Rabbi Ben Chaim, I think, runs Bet Din Mekor Chaim. He addresses the needs to the Queens Jewish community over there, dealing with matters of marriage, divorce, conversion, civil war, kashrut supervision, and runs a kollel, affiliated with the Bet Din also. And he advocates using kocha ha-hetera, power of leniency, it's actually reported over here, and to assist every Jewish person in need. And Rabbi Ben Chaim's students, I think, released publications continued, containing his rulings. For example, the Shenot Chaim, laws and customs of mourning, for example, in accordance with the Mashadi Jewish tradition, and laws and customs of family purity in accordance with Sephardic Jewish tradition. I think that's actually come from Rabbi Moshe Aziz in September 2020, respectively, over here. Now, friends, anyone tuning in live, welcome to our community. Please subscribe to the channel as we are exploring the history of the American rabbis, American Jewry, some of the great prominent figures in America in Jewish history here on this special edition. So welcome, and please subscribe to the channel and enjoy. Okay, so let's talk a bit more about some more rabbis. Another key American rabbi I want to speak about over here is Rabbi Nachman Bullman, another great rabbi of his time. See, we're speaking about various different rabbis over here in this series. So I think it's good to get a shape of what what it was like all throughout this different kinds of time. And we're going to speak about many famous rabbis, and this is what the channel wants to do in of itself, to get like a entire breadth and of what went on. So Rabbi Nachman Bullman, I want to speak about him. He was actually born in the year 1925, passed away in 2002. He would become a great rabbi in Yeshivat Or Sameach in Jerusalem, very famous rabbi over there. He was born to Rabbi Meir and Etiel Bullman. I think they would receive a bracha, a blessing, from the rabbi of Ger, a Chassidut community. Rabbi Avram Mordechai Alter. He would grow up on the Lower East Side of Manhattan. And was, for a brief period, I think, part of the circle of the the Rebbe of Modzitz. He would remain close to the Rebbe until the latter's death. He would study also at Yeshiva University Rietz. He would receive rabbinical ordination over there. And he would get various offers from various different communities. He would eventually accept a position in Danville in Virginia, which had a small Jewish community that had served, I think, for 3 years. He would then go on to serve as a synagogue rabbi and a Jewish educator in a number of cities in the United States of America. And so he becomes a key rabbi here in America. He would eventually, I think in 1975, he would move to Israel and would serve as rabbi of Migdal HaEmek starting in 1979. And during the last few years of his life, he served as rabbi in Nachliel Synagogue in Neve Yaakov in Jerusalem. And very interesting, he was a student also of Rabbi Joseph Soloveitchik, if we go back a bit, in the YU, where he received a rabbinic ordination. In terms of religious ideology, you could say he identified more with Agudat Yisrael of America. You could say he referred to himself as a Talmid of Rabbi Eliyahu Kitov. And at a later stage in life, Rabbi Bullman would sometimes dress up in the form of Gera Chassid, even said over, if I'm not mistaken. He was a popular teacher also, a translator of Hebrew language, of works into English, and a builder of Jewish communities in both America and in Israel. So it's very, very interesting. So you could see he did. I think it was in the late 1970s, he would teach at Yeshivat Or Sameach Balei Teshuva Yeshiva in Jerusalem, a place I studied also. He would be a Mashgiach Ruchani over there. He continued to serve in that capacity after he established a community in Migdal HaEmek. He was seen as a great visionary and was known for understanding modern political events through the lens of timeless Torah wisdom. He would compare the events of the weekly Haftorah with current events in his sermons. He was a great Talmud also of Rabbi Shimshon Raphael Hirsch teaching, and would sometimes incorporate these teachings into his lectures. And after leaving Migdal HaEmek, Rabbi Bullman would again teach at Yeshivat Or Sameach. He would reside near Malot Dafna, where it's situated. In 1996, he would found a Beit Midrash called Nachlat Tzvi in Telstone, named actually a place we visited on this channel, named after writings of Rabbi Shimshon Raphael Hirsch, really great rabbi of his time, and strove to teach immigrants and others how to function within, let's say, Israeli ultra-Orthodox society without losing, let's say, their individual identities. Very important. Rabbi Yitzhak Breitowitz talks about it. I think in the final 3 years of his life, he would live in Neve Yaakov, and over there he would found the Beit Midrash Nachliel over there. The Kollel Nachmani, if I'm not mistaken, was established in his memory. He translated Rabbi Eliyahu Kitov's Hebrew books, the Book of Our Heritage, The Jew and His Home, and The Right and Reason to English. And his name was often written, I think, as Rabbi Nathan Bullman in English, in of itself, respectively. So he was a key rabbi. Another rabbi I want to speak about over here. We're trying to go to diverse American rabbis. Anyone tuning in live to the channel, please subscribe. At the moment, we're nearing 8,000 subscribers. So welcome to our community, and welcome everyone, and wishing you all well. And thank you everyone for joining our community over here, and really, really appreciate all of this also. Okay, Rabbi Aryeh Cohen, who is he? We're trying to get to different kinds of rabbis over here into this, mostly in the Orthodox world we're trying to. But Aryeh Cohen was a scholar who served as professor of rabbinic literature at American Jewish University, and focusing on Talmud, let's just say Jewish ethics and social justice. I think he has got a BA in Jewish thought from Hebrew University of Jerusalem. He was ordained by the Zeigler School of Rabbinic Studies. He received a PhD from Brandeis University, so he's very well decorated in of itself. And he had taught in Hebrew in the college. and I think Brandeis University. I think he's also rabbi in residence of the Ben the Ark, a Jewish partnership for justice in South Carolina, and been active in very, very interesting. I think he is one of the rabbis who signed a statement by Jewish Veg encouraging veganism for all Jews over here once again, and he is one of the founders of Shtivel Minim. Once again, so remember, we eat meat, the Jewish people do, we have this mitzvah to have on Chagim, I'm going to stress that now, and on Shabbat also, it's a good idea. And so many people will speak against this. I'm not too sure his actual ideology in of itself, so that's something I will have to look about it himself, but I'm just mentioning him because he was just a key rabbinic figure, a key person in American society, in academic world in of itself, so that's very interesting. Now, Rabbi Nahum Zev Dessler is another rabbi I want to talk about over here today. Okay, so friends, who was he? He lived between 1920 when he passed away in January 23rd in 2011. He was actually a dean of the Hebrew Academy of Cleveland and was instrumental in building the National Society for Hebrew Day School. So he's a key figure here in American Jewry over here. He was born actually in Kelm to Rabbi Eliyahu Eliezer and Rabbinit Bluma Dessler. And I believe his mother, Rabbinit Bluma, was a granddaughter to Rabbi Simcha Zissel Zid. He was, if I'm not mistaken, Dessler was named after Rabbi Simcha Zissel Zid's son. In 1929, they would move to London. And I think Rabbi Dessler over here was sent to Yeshivat Etz Chaim, and 3 years later he would return to Wykomia in Lithuania to learn at that point in time. So very, very interesting. So he's another key figure over here in thing. Now, another key American figure who will become the chief rabbi of the United Kingdom Spanish Portuguese Jewish community in the 2000s. In the Syrian community, we've spoken about Rabbi Baruch Ben Chaim. Now, the key figure in the Syrian community is Rabbi Joseph Dweck, who currently is the Spanish Portuguese chief rabbi of the United Kingdom. He was born in 1975, a rabbi and the Chazan, and obviously currently the Spanish Portuguese Jewish community chief rabbi. He was actually born in Los Angeles, I think, into obviously a Syrian Jewish descent family. So I want to speak about him for a couple of minutes. He would study in Jerusalem at the famous Chazon Ovadia Yeshiva under Sephardic chief rabbis at the time. Rav Yitzchak Yosef, Rav Ovadia Yosef, he would study psychology and philosophy at Santa Monica College in Los Angeles, received a BA in science degree in liberal arts. In 1995, he would get married to his wife, Rabbinit Margaret, the daughter of Rabbinit Dina Bar Shalom, and if I'm not mistaken, who happens to be the daughter of Chacham Ovadia Yosef, so he would get married to the granddaughter of Rabbi Ovadia Yosef, if I'm not mistaken. He received rabbinical ordination from Rabbi Ovadia Yosef under auspices of the Sephardic Rabbinical College of Brooklyn. I think between 1996 and 1999, Rabbi Dweck would study in the YULA Kollel in Los Angeles under Rabbi Nahum Swab. If I'm not mistaken, in 1919 he moved to Brooklyn. He became a fellow of the newly established Sephardic Rabbinical College under the direction of Rabbi Shimon Aluf at that point in time. He would study, I think, for 7 years, receive rabbinical ordination. Between 1999 to 2014, he would serve as a Sha'arei Shalom, a Syrian synagogue in Brooklyn, as a rabbi over there. And from 2005 to 2008, he would teach Mishnah at the Barkei Yeshiva in Brooklyn also, and received a role of Hebrew principal in 2009, and become Rosh Yeshiva in 2010, a position he would hold, I believe, for 4 years. And obviously, I think later on in 2013, he became the senior rabbi of the Spanish Portuguese Jewish congregation of the United Kingdom over there, and will become the senior rabbi of sort of Bevis Mark Synagogue. And in his capacity as senior rabbi, he would be deputy president of the LSJS London School of Jewish Studies, and president of the Council of Christians and Jews, alongside the chief rabbi, Rabbi Ephraim Mavis, the Archbishop of Canterbury, and other religious heads, the ecclesiastical authority, and of the board of deputies of British Jews, and would also serve as a member of the standing committee of the Conference of European Rabbis. And he was selected, I think, by the Jewish News in conjunction with the Jewish Leadership Council as one of 10 young role models at that point in time. So very interesting. And I think he's got other degrees. He's a Chazan also. Let's just say, I think he would be trained under the famous Chazan Moshe Habusha, and in Brooklyn under Rabbi Raphael El Nadab, another rabbi we've spoken about here on this series, and would join Sha'arei Shalom, a Syrian synagogue over there. And very interesting. So Yeah, so we've spoken about him already. He'd become obviously the head of the Spanish-Portuguese Jewish community. Okay, let's speak about go back on another tangent. Let's speak about Rabbi David Feinstein over here. He lived between 1929 to 2020. He was Halakha Kothori, Rosh Yeshiva Mitivta Tiferet Jerusalem in, let's say, elementary and high school and a kollel. He would inherit this position after the passing of his father, Rabbi Moshe Feinstein. In 1986, he would write a number of books on the Halacha, for example, Torah, on the Jewish calendar, on the Passover Haggadah. His brother Rabbi Reuben Feinstein, obviously the Rosh Yeshiva of Staten Island branch on the Tifta Tiferet Jerusalem. Anyone tuning in live at the moment, please subscribe to the channel and join our community over here, as we've got lots of fantastic content over here. And we're really speaking in great depth, let's just say, within regards to the American Jewish community history. So please subscribe and join our community. So Rabbi David Feinstein was born in 1929 in present-day Belarus at that point in time. Obviously, his father, Rabbi Moshe Feinstein, a really great rabbi, would serve as a rabbi of the community. I think they descend from the brother of the Vilna Gaon, if I'm not mistaken. When he was 8, his family moved to Manhattan. And over there he would reside until he passed away. He died, he was 91 years of age. In the year 2020, he passed away, Rabbi David Feinstein did. Very, very great rabbi, we could say about. He was known following the directive of Mishnah in Avot, in chapter 1, number 15. Amor me'at v'asar, speak less and do more, over there. And I think there's a full biography simply titled Reb David. Was published actually by Art Scroll Publications, a publisher he was intimately involved in, and served among its founding trustees until its death. He would write great Torah works, including the Kol Dodi, if I'm not mistaken, which was, I think, originated in 1970s, when his father was still alive, the great rabbi was. And very interesting. And I think other books also he published. Now, another rabbi I want to speak about for a minute is Rabbi Yisachar Franz, great rabbi. He's senior lecturer currently at Yeshiva Ner Yisrael in Baltimore. He's actually raised in Seattle in Washington. He would attend Ner Yisrael as a student and progressed to become a Magid Shiur. He is well known within the Orthodox Jewish community. He's a skilled orator. Obviously, he's given thousands of invited lectures over the decades in of itself. He produces something called Torah Tapas of his lectures, if I'm not mistaken. He's got a very decorated career. He's best known for his Parshat HaShavua Shiurim lectures, his weekly lectures. I think it started in the late 1980s, hosted live at the Agudat Yisrael synagogue in Baltimore, and it's broadcasted, I think, all over the world, especially in Torah Conferencing Network, in synagogues and Jewish community centers in over 70 cities in North America, in Europe, Israel, South Africa, and Australia, if I'm not mistaken. He typically addresses, let's say, halacha Jewish law for the bulk of his lecture in of itself, and he does huge amounts, if I'm not mistaken. Also, Rabbi Franz also gives a popular yearly lecture before Yom Kippur, known as his annual Teshuvah Drasha. He is a board member and frequent speaker on behalf of the Chafetz Chaim Heritage Foundation, an organization dedicated to educating the Jewish public on the laws of Lashon Hara, harmful speech. Rabbi Franz also has been a featured speaker, especially at the Siyum Hashas, held once every 7.5 years, respectively. Anyone tuning in live at the moment, please subscribe to the channel as we are exploring the history of the United States of America. History over here, please subscribe. We've got fantastic content over here, and as you can see, now a bit of bibliography. He's written many different great books, many books published by Art Scroll, as I said before, and important messages, let's just say, in of itself. So very important. Rabbi Yisachar Franz, great rabbi. As we're going on diversity, I want to speak about Rabbi Meir Goldvich, who's another famous rabbi in America. He's a rabbi and Rosh Yeshiva at Yeshiva University in Washington Heights, Manhattan. He was born in Israel. He would study actually Yeshivat Kerem Yavne, a place we visited on this channel, under his uncle Rabbi Chaim Yaakov Goldvich, in Rosh Yeshiva, and had close ties to Rabbi Shlomo Zalman Auerbach and Rabbi Ovad Yosef also. He would study initially under Rabbi Yisachar Meir at Yeshivat HaNegev. Rabbi Yisachar Meir, great rabbi in Israel. We've mentioned him on various occasions before. He would then progress to Yeshivat Kerem Yavne. He would, I think, was founded and headed by his uncle Rabbi Chaim Yaakov Goldvich, and established close ties with, I think, Rav Zalman Nehemiah Goldberg, who was his chavruta, I believe. Interesting enough. He would also, yes, so you can see, I think he was participating in the study group at Chabura with other great rabbis, Rabbi Shlomo Fisher, Rabbi Yeshayahu Hadari, and Rabbi Moshe Shapiro, really great rabbis. He attributes the bulk of his, let's say, Torah to them. Rabbi Goldvich received smicha from Rabbi Zalman Nechemia Goldberg in 1980, as well as Rabbi Betzalel Zolti and Rabbi Obad Yosef. He has also served as Magid Shir in Kerem Yavne Yeshiva, and eventually would come to Yeshiva University in Israel. So he was definitely, without doubt, a key rabbi over there. Let's say, he is also Rav Goldvich. I think the Joel and Mary Finkel Visiting Israeli Rosh Yeshiva and Rosh Yeshiva, a Yeshiva program, Mesa School of Talmudic Studies at Yeshiva University. He's also Rosh Yeshiva at the Irving Stone Beit Midrash program. In his early years in America, he received regular correspondence with Rabbi Shlomo Zalman Auerbach, really encouraging him and praising him, let's say, for continued efforts. He gives regular classes at Yeshiva University. He delivers shiurim extensively all over New York, and even in Israel, very popular lecturer. Delivers more than 1,000 lectures every year, reported over, and has been described as an absolute phenomenon by Rabbi Zvulun Charlo for his, let's say, great style, colorful style. That really captivates the audiences of itself, so very interesting. And yeah, so very interesting. And Robert Dr. Ari Berman, who's got head position on Yeshiva University, also really praises him to the highest levels. He actually got sons, including Rabbi Eliad Goldvich, who's a founder of Smichat Chaver program, and Rabbi Eitel Goldvich, who is a rabbi at Isha Torah Yeshiva and the founder of Aish Israel. Remember, we have actually recorded with Rabbi Goldvich here in this series over, and the former assistant rabbi of Beit Knesset Tennessee in Rechavia. And there's also Rabbi Aviad Goldvich, who has a regular share at Beit Knesset Horeb in Rechavia, and is on his third cycle of Daf Yomi Be'iyun, educating it in English. So that's another prominent rabbi we've got to speak about. Now, another rabbi, let's go very diverse. Who the rabbis are that we're speaking about. Rabbi Yaakov Yechezkiyahu Greenwald, the famous rabbi, an American rabbi. He was actually born in the year 1948 of the Pupa Hasidic group in the United States of America. He was born actually in Belgium, Antwerp, the second son of Rabbi Yosef Greenwald, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, very interesting enough. And he, when he was a child, his family immigrated to the United States of America. Well, I think his father founded the Pupa Hasidic dynasty over there. Yes, so very, very interesting. So he's a key rabbi in that circles over there, and he would serve as a judge, a rabbinic judge, and a posek of Pupa Hasidim over there. And on his father's death in 1984, he would succeed him as a Pupa Rebbe. Also interesting enough. And many of his followers live in the United States, especially in New York and in Canada, and he's got followers also in Israel and London. So he's a key rabbi at that point in time. He's currently, I think, about 78 years of age, another great rabbi of this point in time. Anyone tuning in live at the moment, please subscribe to the channel as we're exploring American Jewish history. We've got fantastic content over here, so please join our community. Another key rabbi who's a very popular rabbi in America at the moment, Rabbi Lawrence Hadjioff. We've got to mention him. He's a British-American rabbi. He's an educator. He's a writer. He is on the Judaic Studies faculty of Stern College for Women at Yeshiva University and is assistant director of admissions. He served as rabbi of Birthright Israel in Manhattan. And in New York, I think he is author of 3 books also. He would write in 2014, 2018. And in 2018, he actually grew up in London and would graduate with political science from the University of Manchester. He would work, interesting enough, for MTV news production and won a national competition to become Jewish stand-up comedian of the year, interesting enough. And then he would pursue a career as a rabbi using that talent over there. He would study in Israel and then in Monsey. He would receive rabbinic smicha from Yeshivat Or Sameach, and is a key rabbi at that point for sure, and really inspiring youth also. So that's very interesting. Let's speak a bit about Rabbi Avraham Hecht over here also. That's something to. He lived between 1922 to 2013. He was Chabad affiliated rabbi and the president of the Rabbinical Alliance of America, also known as Igud HaRabbanim. He was known as a rabbi's rabbi and a great Torah scholar, and was regarded as one of America's most articulate Orthodox rabbinical leaders over there. Rabbi Avraham Hecht is. Now we can actually see about him. He was a disciple of Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson. and has distinction of being one of the first 10 students of Yeshivat Tomchei Tzmimim in America, in the United States of America. He would serve as a Shliach Mesari in Boston or Buffalo, and interestingly enough, he will become tapped up to become a rabbi of Congregation Shari Tzion of Brooklyn, the largest Sephardic congregation in North America, comprising of 3,500 families. He would serve the congregation for more than 50 years. Let's just say known as distinguished orator, inspired many people to study Torah and mitzvot, and was a contributor for 50 years to various Jewish publications in English, in Hebrew, and in Yiddish also. And very, very great rabbi of the Syrian community. We recorded a video about him. And another great rabbi we should mention about at the moment is Rabbi Yitzchak Yisraeli. He is a halachist. He's a part of a great Sephardi rabbi in America. He's the head of Jewish court, Ab Bet Din, of Torah Mishpat in Brooklyn. He serves as a rabbi of the Sephardic Center of Milbasin, and which is a predominantly, let's say, Syrian Jewish congregation in of itself. So I think let's explore a bit of his history. He was born in Jerusalem and would study in Yeshivat Tifrach. He was a prominent student of Rabbi Ben Sion Abashul and Rabbi Ovadia Yosef. In 1998, he moved to New York. He received a rabbinic ordination from Rabbi Eliyahu Ben Chaim, and after becoming a rabbi, he would serve as a dayan, as a judge, and then in the Bet Din headed by Rabbi Ben Chaim in Queens. In 2000, he was appointed the rabbi of Congregation Sharei Emunah in Cedarhurst, where I think he would serve until 2009. From 2008 to 2010, he would serve as Rosh Yeshiva in Yeshivat Be'er Yitzchak in Beitar Alit in West Bank. In 2001, Rabbi Israeli established a Sephardic Beit Midrash congregation of Rockland County in Wesley Hills, New York. He would lead there till 2012, and in 2012 he was appointed rabbi of the Sephardic Center of Milbasin. Now Rabbi Israeli would teach halacha and dayanut in several kollelim in Brooklyn and in Queens, and become Rosh Hashanah in Congregation Bet Gabriel in Queens. We have to point out over there, so you can see he take on various different positions. And he would establish the Bei Yitzchak Foundation, an organization that helps the needy in Israel, as well as Jewish education organizations in Israel. He's among one of the leading rabbis of the Bikur Cholim website, of Milbasin organization also. And Rabbi Israeli's theory of halacha, let's just say Jewish law, is based on the methods of Chacham Ovadia Yosef. His halachic work deals with, I think, let's just say, the most complicated issues in the Eben Ha'ezer, as well as other parts of the code of Jewish law. He has, so very, very interesting. I think he was one of the speakers at Agudat Yisrael of America convention in 2018, and I think he's been honored to host different Bukharian community events also in America. So anyone tuning in live, welcome to our community as we are exploring the history of great rabbis over here, and we're speaking about some great rabbis that have shaped America, especially at the end of the 20th and earlier, and here in the 21st century. Also, he's written various different publishings on his books, and I think his rulings deal with the 4 parts of the Code of Jewish Law. His first book was published in 2014, and titled Me'avnei HaMakom, and deals with several halachic issues, including contemporary Shabbat issues, especially on marriage, getting divorce documents, agonot, and would receive accolades from Rav Salman Nechemia Gobag and Rabbi Ben Chaim. Also, he would publish in the book Yodei Binah, which was published in 2016, determining, let's say, Zmanim, halachic times of the day, and rulings that stem from these determinations, let's just say, of itself. So very interesting. Let's speak about the Sephardic Center of Milbasin just for a minute. It's a congregation over here in America. I think it's situated in Brooklyn, New York, and in Georgetown, the Bergen Beach area, the congregation led by Rabbi Yirmi Levy recently. And very interesting. I think services were held because of renovations in Temple Shalom of Avenue U, if I'm not mistaken, at a recent point in time. That's in the key synagogue. Let's just talk about over here. Another Sephardi synagogue also in Brooklyn. We're going to speak more. Another key American rabbi I want to speak about over here, Rabbi Sam Kassim, all known as Rabbi Sami, is a Rosh Yeshiva in Israel, also the chief rabbi of the Bukharian quarter in Jerusalem currently. And anyone tuning in live, please subscribe to the channel and join our community over here as we're recording videos, historic videos, on the history of the United States of America. Now, the son of Rabbanit Esther Sutton and Rabbi Ezra Kassin, he happened to be. Rabbi Kassin descends from a line of great rabbis that dates back to the year 1600 with roots from Spain. One of 10 children, he was born in 1944 in New York City and raised in Miami Beach. He did not study Torah until he was 16. He started studying in Ney Yisrael Yeshiva in Baltimore, and after 4 years in Baltimore, he spent 4 more years studying at Yeshiva Porat Yosef in Jerusalem. It was there where he would develop a close relationship with the great Rabbi Ovadia Yosef, the Sephardic chief rabbi, who would ordain him in 1971. 1972, I believe, Rabbi Kassin would return to the United States of America, and this was actually in the request of Rabbi Moshe Shammah to establish a high school for the Syrian Jewish community in Brooklyn. He would stay as a principal of Sephardic high school for 5 years. Then he would return to Israel eventually in 1977, would direct a 1-year program for American youth in Aish HaTorah. And I think come 1980, Dr. Joe Nissim, he was a president and founder of the Sephardic Educational Center, recruited Rabbi Kassin to be its first director. A year later, together, Rabbi Eliyahu Shamula, Rabbi Kassin would open up the SSC, the Sephardic Sheheber Center in the Old City, a rabbinic program in itself. Let's speak about some of the yeshivot now here in America. Let's speak a bit about Ney Yisrael Yeshiva, famous yeshiva. Anyone tuning in live at the moment, welcome. Please subscribe to the channel. We're a community here, and we're learning about famous rabbis of yesteryear and so on and so forth. So welcome, and please subscribe and join our community. Now, the Ney Yisrael Rabbinical College is another key Talmudic college, ultra-Orthodox yeshiva, you could say. It was founded in the year 1933 by Rabbi Yaakov Yitzchak Ruderman, who was a Talmid of Rabbi Nathan Tzvi Finkel, the altar of Slobodka, and the dean of the Slobodka Yeshiva in Lithuania. Rabbi Aaron Feldman is a disciple of Rabbi Ruderman and a member of the Motzaot Gedulei HaTorah of America, and become the head of the yeshiva in 2001. I think the yeshiva, obviously, it's a Lithuanian educational Talmudic academy, let's just say, affiliated with Agudat Yisrael of America. It's composed of 3 departments. The Mechina, let's just say, for high school students. The Metivta for the Bachorim, let's just say, respectively. It's like a yeshiva in of its own right over there. And that's, I think, another division. And there's the yeshiva for post-high school students, also known as Beit Midrash Bachorim. And Kollel for married students. It's literally translated for the young men, respectively. So, very, very prominent in of itself. The graduates of Ney Yisrael are known for their dedication to Torah study and communal leadership. I think in the year 2000, the New York Times described Ney Yisrael as being unusual in that it always allows students across secular, professional education, and this takes place off premises as university accredited night courses with the participation of some students. I think Ney Yisrael's mission statement makes clear its priority is religious studies. The yeshiva alumni have been estimated as 50% rabbis and 50% religious school teachers and 50% professionals, also bankers, accountants, physicians, attorneys, psychologists also. Very interesting. It's got a very decorated history and past leadership also, you have to point about. I think it was Rabbi Yaakov Yitzchak Ruderman. He was the son-in-law of Rabbi Sheftel Kramer. He would found the yeshiva in 1933 with 6 students at the time and was based in a local synagogue. The yeshiva was named after Rabbi Yisrael Lipkin Salanta, who was a founder of the Musar movement, and followed by Rabbi Nathan Tzvi Finkel, obviously known as the Alter of Slobodka. Rabbi David Kronglos of the Mir Yeshiva in Europe was the yeshiva's first mashgiach ruchani until he passed away in 1972. And besides his role as mashgiach over there, he would serve as Maggid Shir and was a posek of the yeshiva. I think there was Rabbi Herman Naftali Neuberger, who was the son-in-law of Rabbi Sheftel Kramer, brother-in-law of Rabbi Ruderman. Let's say an alumnus of Mir Yeshiva in Europe and of Ney Yisrael itself, was president of Ney Yisrael from 1940 until he passed away in 2005. And Rabbi Neuberger would join the yeshiva as a student when he arrived from Bavaria in 1938. Very interesting. His son, Rabbi Sheftel Neuberger, was full-time assistant to the manager in 1987. And very interesting. So he can see the great history within regards to that. I think Rabbi Aaron Feldman is the Rosh Yeshiva currently, the dean, and is council member of Motzaot Gedulei HaTorah. He would study in yeshiva in the 1950s. He was living in Israel in 1961 until his appointment in 2001. And Robert Baruch Neuberger is the Menahel, the president of the yeshiva. succeeding his father, Rabbi Sheftel Neuberger, if I'm not mistaken. Rabbi Beryl Weisbrod is a son-in-law of Rabbi Weinberg, is Yeshiva's Mashgiach Ruchani, also respectively, something we have to point out. It's interesting, other key figures there was Rabbi Yaakov Moshe Kulevsky, who was a student of Rabbi Shlomo Hyman and a senior lecturer at Yeshiva and served as a Rosh Yeshiva from when Rabbi Weinberg passed away in 1999, if I'm not mistaken. Other rabbis who would serve include Rabbi Shimon Schwab, another great American rabbi, later rabbi of the German Jewish Frankfurt Kehila, a community in Washington Heights, New York, Rabbi Simcha Zisselbroit of Hebron Yeshiva in Jerusalem, Rabbi Ephraim Eisenberg, the son-in-law of Rabbi Mordechai Gifter, and Rabbi Zvi Dov Slang, a disciple of Rabbi Shach, also respectively. It's a very, very decorated history over there on that. So there's activity also outside of Baltimore for this yeshiva, and they've done huge things. Friends, anyone tuning in live, please subscribe to the channel now, if you can. We've got fantastic content here, and we're exploring the history of the American Jewish community in the United States of America. So please subscribe and join our community. We're nearing 8,000 subscribers at the moment, so I really appreciate it. And Rabbi Aaron Feldman, he was born in 1932. He's a current Rosh Yeshiva of Bnei Yisrael Yeshiva. And as I said before, he's the son of Rabbi Yosef Feldman, who passed away in 1993. I think they were from Warsaw originally, if I'm not mistaken. And I think it's interesting, Rabbi Yosef Feldman served as rabbi in Manchester in New Hampshire in the 1930s, and he would leave that post to assume the helm of Baltimore's Franklin Street Synagogue. So the sons could attend the Hebrew day school over there at that stage in time, which would be obviously a very key move over there, because we're really nurturing. Rabbi Aaron Feldman has two brothers. His elder one is Rabbi Emmanuel Feldman, who is a prominent spiritual leader of Congregation Bet Jacob in Atlanta, Georgia, I think for 40 years. And his younger brother, Rabbi Joel Feldman, was a dean of Talmudic Academy of Baltimore. Interesting enough, so you can see really great rabbis. He would study under great rabbis, including Rabbi Yitzchak Ruderman, as we mentioned before, also Rabbi Yitzchak Hunter, and Rabbi Aryeh Leib Malin, who had the most profound influence, let's say, in Rabbi Feldman's, let's say, Gemara studies, and introduced him to, let's say, the Brisker method of Torah study. He would teach in several yeshivot in New York, and had dual citizenship to both Israel and the United States of America, as I point out. He would make Aliyah in 1961. He would live in Bnei Brak for 12 years and relocate to Jerusalem in 1973. He would serve as Rosh Yeshiva of Or Samech for many years and founded Yeshiva Be'er HaTorah in Jerusalem in the early 1990s. And in 2001, he would eventually become the Rosh Yeshiva of Bnei Yisrael in America. Interesting enough. So let's speak about Rabbi Adin Steinsaltz, another key rabbi in the United States of America, Israeli Chabad rabbi, you could say, but he would make a huge impact in America itself. He would publish a Talmud Steinsaltz edition in modern Hebrew with a running commentary to facilitate learning, translated into English, French, Russian, and Spanish. And he would put various different tractates in 1989. And I think in 2012, it was released the English Hebrew edition of the Koren Talmud Bavli. And it's been brought to completion, let's just say. He was a receipt of the Israeli Prize for Jewish Studies in 1988 and the President's Medal in 2012 and the Yaki Yerushalayim in 2017. He passed away on 7th August in 2020, I believe. His father was great-grandson of the first Slonimer Rebbe, Rabbi Avram Weinberg, if I'm not mistaken. He would actually the family moved to Mandatory Palestine in 1924. I think Rabbi Steinsaltz became Baal Teshuva during his teenage years, encouraged by another great rabbi, Rabbi Shmuel Elazar Helbrin, who was a Rosh Yeshiva of Yeshiva Torat Emet of Chabad. He would study maths, physics, and chemistry at Hebrew University of Jerusalem. He would receive rabbinic studies at Yeshivat Tomchei Timimim in Lod, and study under Rabbi Dov Ber Eliezerov and Rabbi Shmarayu Noach Sasonkin. He would graduate. He established several schools. In himself at 24 became Israel's youngest school principal. Interesting enough, Rabbi Adin Steinsaltz did. And he would write classic books on Kabbalah, etc. I think he was close to Rabbi Menachem Mendel Schneerson, if I'm not mistaken, also, and would do huge amounts over there. So he was very active, and he was very famous in America also, we have to point out. And he went, I think, to help Jews in the Soviet Union, assisting Chabad Shliachim network. In 1995, the chief rabbi of Russia, someone named Adolf Shayevich, would give Rabbi Adin Steinsaltz the title of the Tranvit Ravin, the spiritual rabbi. Let's say historic Russian title that was. and that indicated that he was a special mentor of Russian Jewry. And Rabbi Steinsaltz would travel to Russia, United Soviet Union once a month, if I'm not mistaken. Also, and he was a key rabbi of his time, we have to point out, Rabbi Adin Steinsaltz. I think his son, Rabbi Meni Eben Israel, is executive director of the Steinsaltz Center, which is an umbrella organization located in the Nachlaot neighborhood in Jerusalem, we have to point out. So that's very interesting. Let's talk about the National Book Awards. It's an American award ceremony for North America, award program, or it's a field in the field of Jewish literature, and is recognized as, let's say, a prestigious award presented by category. It's designed to give recognition to outstanding books, stimulate writers to further literary creativity, and to encourage the reading of worthwhile titles. I think it began in 1950, and when the Jewish Book Council presented awards, let's say, to authors of Jewish books at its annual meeting, the first book award of the prize was Foundations of Religious Philosophy in Judaism, Christianity, and Islam by someone named Harry Austrian Wilson. And there'll be various different winners, as I say, of different awards all throughout different times. So that's something we have to point out in the book industry in America. Once again, friends, everyone, welcome to our channel over here. Please subscribe to the channel and join our community as we're exploring the history of American Jewish history over here. Let's speak about the Bukharian Jews, also known as, they were obviously known as the Mizrahi Jews, you could say. It's a subgroup of Central Asia, traditionally spoke Bukharian, a Judeo-Persian language most similar to the Tajik derelict in of itself. The vast majority live in modern-day Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, small groups in Afghanistan, those areas, and they're one of the oldest Jewish diaspora groups, let's say, from Babylonian exile, and one of the oldest ethno-religious groups in Central Asia. Since the dissolution of Soviet Union, the great majority obviously immigrated to Israel or United States, so they will form a huge community in America. The largest number of Bukharian Jews in the US happens to be in New York City, in Forest Hills in Queens. I think 108th Street, often referred to as Bukharian Broadway, or over there. It's filled with Bukharian restaurants and gift shops. Furthermore, Forest Hills is nicknamed Bukharelim due to the majority of the population being Bukharian. They have formed a tight-knit, let's say, enclave in this area, which was once, I think, mostly Ashkenazic Jews. I think there's a synagogue over there in Kew Gardens in Queens, and it has a large population of Bukharian Jews. I think although Bukharian Jews of Queens, let's just say, remain insular in some ways, living in close proximity to each other, owning, patronizing clusters of stores, attending their own synagogues rather than synagogues in the area. They have connections with non-Bukharians in the area also. I think come on December 1999, the first Congress of Bukharian Jews there was of the United States and Canada convened in Queens in 2007. Bukharian American Jews initiated lobbying efforts on behalf of the community. I think the president was Zoya Maksumova, was the president of the women's organization called Esther Malka, said this event represents a huge leap forward for our community. Now, for the first time, Americans will know who we are. Senator, I think Joseph Lieberman at the time, intonated that God said to Abraham, you'll be an eternal people. And how we see the state of Israel lives, and this historic and Bukharian community, which was cut off from the Jewish world for centuries in Central Asia and suffered oppression during the Soviet Union, is alive and well in America. That's what he says is over. So that's very interesting. So you can see they had a very colourful history. Maybe we can do a historic video of Ezrat Hashem on the history of Bukharian Jewry also at one point in time. That's definitely a big ambition of ours. So you can see how it was a big, I think currently, for example, the great congregations, including the Bet Gabriel Center for Bukharian Jews, which has many great rabbis at the point in time, including Rabbi Yisrael Ichkavol, Rabbi Emmanuel Shimonoro, Rabbi Yitzhak Yisraeli, who we spoke about before, who's the chief of the Bukharian Jewish community of USA and Canada. There's also other great rabbis, I think Rabbi Shmuel Eliashev, if I'm not mistaken, Rabbi Tomer Tzion, if I'm not mistaken, and Rabbi Reuben Hargisov over there, Rabbi Ilan Meirov, I think he's a rabbi of the youth minion over there, the Beit Gabriel also, respectively. We're going to speak about Mashadi Jews also now, because they make a huge community in New York. They began to establish a significant community in New York after the 1979 Iranian Revolution. They would initially settle in Queens, Kew Gardens, and later would go to Great Neck. Now it's a huge community there in Long Island. There's synagogues over there, the unique history of crypto-Judaism under persecution, and so on and so forth. We know that the Mashhadi community has a history where there was forced conversion in 1839. The Jews of Mashhad were forced to convert to Islam in Iran, becoming, let's say, Moranos or Jadid al-Islam, but would secretly maintain their Jewish faith underground for generations. I think in 1925, the Reza Shah allowed open religious practice and the Shadis gradually returned to Judaism. There was migration in 1940s, especially to London, and after 1979 Islamic Revolution, many would go to America. Now, traveling to New York, the first wave will come in the mid-1950s, but the major influx was in 1979, obviously from the revolution, and they would first settle in Kew Gardens in Queens, establishing synagogues at Congregation Shari Tova, place like this before, and have a strong presence in the Montefiore Cemetery. They would move in 1990s as a business flourished, and many would move to Great Neck in Long Island. They would create significant Iranian Jewish hub over there, interesting enough. And now today, the New York community itself, there's vibrant centers, especially in Great Neck hosts various prominent Mashhadi culture centers and synagogues, Shari Shalom, the Or Esther, Shari Rechamim, for example. And there's a very strong identity where there's unique, cohesive identity focused on preserving their history through communal events, religious services, and educational programs over here. And so we're going to speak a bit more about the community in itself. There's so much. We actually did a video, if you recollect, on the history of the Mashhadi Jewish community. I think we recorded this. It was, if I can recollect, we recorded about I think it was about a year ago. We did several videos. But we will do a historic video on the Mashhadi Jewish community at one point in time. There's a whole thing that we can talk about the Mashhad Tehran community, about the journey they actually had when they were actually traveling over there. Anyone tuning in live at the moment, please subscribe to the channel. We are nearing, at the moment, 8,000 subscribers. We've got fantastic content over here on this channel. So please join our community and subscribe now. Now, the journey bringing the Mashhadi Jews from Mashhad to Great Neck, you could say, when did it start? It was, I think, it was a very unique one. If we just go back a bit, in 1740, I think Shah Nader Shah, Afshar, would relocate about 40 Jewish people at that point in time, the families into northeast of Iran, and that would be like the starting blocks of, you could say, Mashhadi Jewry, and much can be said about it. Mashhadi Jews would keep their faith hidden until the year 1925, reported over, and until, there will be a change of leadership over there when religious freedoms came in 1920s. And then I think in Great Neck, the Mashhadis found Jews from all over Persia. I think it's interesting enough, they come from all over Persia, and ever since the 1950s, many Iranian Jews took advantage of, let's say, a close diplomatic relationship between their country and the United States of America at that stage in time. It was, you would begin to move across the Atlantic to study in American colleges, through exchange programs, government-funded scholarships at that stage in time. Among them, I think there were famous people from the Haruri family, for example, originally from Tehran. So people come from all over different parts to America from the Great Neck Mashhadi community. It's a whole decade of history. Hopefully when we can record the historic video about Iran, which is going to be multiple parts, and let's just say, we will actually really go into detail about the Mashhadi community, the Tehrani community, and the different communities there was also. The Mashhadi and Tehrani Jews, let's say, avoid losing their uniqueness as identity through osmosis with local residents. Let's say many would marry into these communities itself, respectively. And there's great emphasis of social, let's say, gatherings within the community, as you see in New York and in America. In these communities, there's a big community hubs and centers for, let's just say, the Mashhadi Jewish community in general at the moment. So you can see huge amounts being done over there. So anyone tuning in live at the moment, we're exploring the history of the Jewish community of the United States of America. So please subscribe to the channel and join our community, friends. And welcome everyone over here on this special edition, which we are speaking about over here. So we're talking about how the community will come to Great Neck. I think, if I'm not mistaken, more recently, there's a number of resident Mashhadi community in Great Neck obviously skyrocketed in recent years, and that's where the main place is in of itself. So that's something I would very much recommend everyone to learn about at the moment. And let's explore a bit more within regards to other Sephardic synagogues in America. There's a key Sephardic synagogue called the Bet El Jewish Center in Flatbush. What is this, friends, over here? It's Congregation Bet El. I think it's on the east side over there in New York City, in Brooklyn. It's another Edut Mizracha Sephardi synagogue. It comprises, let's just say, of Jewish people of Sephardic and Middle Eastern communities, including from Syria, Lebanon, also from Egypt, Morocco, Israelis, Yemen and Turkey. So this is a famous synagogue over there. And descendants of these people, the congregation, I believe, is called Bet El Jewish Center of Flatbush, located in the Homecrest Avenue over there. And it was built in the year 1927, nearly about 100 years ago. It's a 2-story plus basement rectangular and brick building. It's a famous synagogue in America with, let's say, a very, very nice white glazed, it's a historic building that I think is listed on the National Register of Historic Places in 2009. So it's another key place over here in America, another key synagogue, another key part of the Sephardic community. Now, another key Sephardi, let's say, synagogue over there is also Congregation Et Achayim Sephardic. So what is that, friend, over here? I think it is obviously an Orthodox synagogue. This now, friends, is located in Highland Park in New Jersey. And Congregation is a member of the American Sephardi Federation, which I spoke about in the previous video, and I think the Raritan Valley Orthodox Jewish Community organization also. So it's the only Sephardic congregation in Highland Park, Edison area, which is actually quite unique over there in itself. It's got a very decorative history, which we should really go on about over here. I think Jewish immigrants, especially from Thessaloniki in Greece, Turkey, and the other Balkans area, will actually come to New Jersey area at that stage in time. This was in the early part of the 20th century, and the congregation was originally, I think, organized in September 1916 and incorporated on June the 27th, 1921. However, I think the original, if I'm not mistaken, congregation, let's just say, was dissolved, and then it was renamed at a later stage in time. The congregation was refounded at a later stage in the year 1927, which is very, very interesting fact that we have to point out over here. I think in 1928 more would actually occur. I'm just gonna go over here. Anyone tuning in live, once again, welcome to our community over here as we're exploring the history of the Jewish community of the United States of America over here in this special series, special edition. So everyone that's tuning in live, welcome. And as we explore, we like to explore on this channel different historic tidbits of various different Jewish communities also. And here it's, I think in the 6th part, we're actually recording of the United States of America over here. We've spoken about 35 different countries already here inside this series. So let's just go on a bit. We're speaking about this congregation Et Achim, in a Sephardic congregation in New Jersey over here. It will get renamed at a later stage in time. It will become a key synagogue, let's just say, in America for the Sephardi community, especially from the Balkans countries. That's something that we have to point out over here. I think the congregation was refounded in 1928 when ground, I think, was broken for the original synagogue building on July 1st. It was the only Sephardic synagogue in the New Brunswick area. The name of the congregation was later officially changed to Congregation Et Achayim over there. This was. And the congregation moved to its current location, which is in Highland Park. The current synagogue, I think, was built in 1962, mainly of brick. And the building is beautiful, let's say, with Jewish motifs such as the Tree of Life, Etz Chaim, obviously carved into the wooden front door. There's 2 metal 7-branch menorahs, obviously in the Jewish festival of Hanukkah at the moment. And on the front of the wall, there's a main sanctuary. And it's just known as a very, very nice structure in of own right, which we have to point out over here as we explore the history, friends, of the Jewish community of America over here. And we're really trying to dig in deep, and we've explored many famous rabbis here in today's class. I think there's unfortunately there's actually a cemetery over there. They maintain 2 cemeteries. One is shared with a congregation Polei Tzedek, and the other, I think, if I'm not mistaken, is called the Floral Park Cemetery in southern Brunswick in New Jersey. We haven't really spoken about what cemeteries, what famous Jewish cemeteries there are in of itself, but yeah, let's look at a bit about the clergy of this synagogue over here. I think it was founded at the start of the Great Depression. The congregation was not able to afford a rabbi initially, and yeah, that's very interesting. I think there were services of Rabbi Benjamin Naor of Salonika. He was connected, and there was other lay leaders of the community in himself, including Eliyahu Nahama and Eli Saporta, if I'm not mistaken. And after the congregation, Etz Chaim was led then by Rabbi Ishmael Cohen, respectively. I think also Raphael Reisman will be, and David Glicksman will have key roles over there. And then Rabbi Yamin Levi, we have to point out. I think come 1991, Rabbi David Basus was its spiritual leader. Prior to joining Eitz Chaim, Rabbi Basus, if I'm not mistaken, was the spiritual leader of Congregation Bet Midrash in Canada, in Vancouver, over there. He happened to have been. So it's a famous, he is actually of Iraqi descent, Rabbi Basus is, and in London, and has degrees and religious training, training in himself. And his congregation, Etz Chaim, he would lead for 30 years, interesting enough. So let's just take a short break, talk about what we're going to do. We might continue this class over here, and as I'll just get into the car, and we'll just share some information together, as we're a community here and we're exploring the history of the Jewish communities all over the world. So please, friends, if you're tuning in live, subscribe to our channel and join our community here on this very, very nice Monday morning, which happens to be the first day of Hanukkah. I'm recording this video, this presentation over here today. So it's very, very interesting, and you get to see some scenes of Eretz Yisrael as we speak about the various different countries over here today. So we're just going to talk a little bit about what we're doing here on this channel at the moment. We're going to do another part series over here for the American Jewish community. I think we're going to do maybe another 2 parts over here. So it's very, very interesting. So we like to get a whole breadth of world Jewry history over here in our community over here. So everyone, if you're tuning in live, please subscribe to the channel. Now, what do we do on this channel, friends? We don't just record historic videos of great Jewish communities. We also explore about the great Middle Eastern rabbis of yesteryear from different countries, Sephardic countries. Most predominantly, we've spoken about the Ottoman countries also. We've recorded about biographies of nearly 1,400 great Chachamim, great rabbis of yesteryear. Now, also on this channel, friends, we've got every single day an inspirational Jewish personality, inspirational rabbi that will educate and give us an idea to, let's say, powerade our day with different great knowledges and facts to really energize ourselves. And you know, for Am Yisrael, some of the great rabbis of this modern generation have actually included their material. We've had the privilege of having. Also on this channel, we do tours. We tour all over Israel, especially in Jerusalem. We've recorded nearly about 100 tours all around Jerusalem, all the parts. If you check out our channel, you'll see it. I very, very much recommend everyone to share also these videos. We will also do short clips of different archaeologies. We explore different synagogues, different yeshivot. One thing we do is we go to all the English-speaking yeshiva, or most of them we've been to, in various different parts of Israel, and explore, see the atmosphere, record the rabbis, get a feel of the area, you know, because it's great to learn things in theory, but it's good to see it. One thing also we do, we've spoken about so many rabbis, in a lot of these tours we do, we see some of the streets which are named after these great rabbis. This is, I think, the greatest form of learning, in my personal opinion, where you really get to feel who the rabbi is, what the community is, by seeing the actual buildings and the streets actually named after. That's another exciting thing. We also record videos on the weekly Torah portion. So this week we are coming into Parshat Miketz. Naturally, we also record videos on Jewish festivals, over different halachots with regards to it. We are now in the Jewish festival of Hanukkah. We have just entered at the moment, which is very, very exciting for all of us, and something that we'll definitely have to bring up at the moment. So I would recommend everyone to watch over those videos that we've recorded with regards to Hanukkah, the Jewish festival, and yeah, there's just so much more that is really power-aiding our day and bringing and garnering knowledge to so many people. At the moment, we're in the first day of Hanukkah, so obviously our thoughts, we're going to dedicate this video to anyone that got injured yesterday, anyone that sadly was murdered yesterday in this horrific attack that occurred in Australia, in Sydney.
and may the memories be in a blessing any of the victims, and please refuah shlema to anyone that got injured. You know, and how horrific, unfortunately, we're learning about the Jewish history in all these places, about the anti-Semitism that occurred. And unfortunately, Australia saw a horrific day yesterday in its calendar, let's just say historic calendar, and how sad actually it happens to be over there. And yeah, very, very sad. It brings a huge, huge tear, let's just say, to our eyes. That's something we have to point out. But we're in the heads. Tonight is going to be the second day of tonight is going to be, so it's another momentous time period, momentous day where a lot is happening. Let's try and bring a lot of light into the world at the moment, and beautiness, greatness, and tell over the Hanukkah story that actually occurred more than 2,000 years ago. Let's relive it, retell it to our children, re-educate our children on everything that's actually occurred all throughout Jewish history. How important it is to perpetuate and tell over all the happenings that actually went on in past years, and that's something very, very important that we very much I recommend everyone to actually spend more time on. So we actually did a special edition. If you look back on our channel a few days ago, we explored different interesting Sephardic customs there were of Hanukkah, the Jewish festival of Hanukkah, in all different countries in the Balkans and so many other areas in North Africa. We also explored the history of the various different Hanukkah songs also, which was a very exciting project they worked on, some very, very proud about that we've done here on this channel also. So much great information. I think on this note, we're going to call it a day. We're going to do another part over here within regards to the Jewish community of the United States of America, Be'ezrat Hashem, in the coming moments. And yeah, wishing you all well. And don't forget, friends, everyone, subscribe to the channel and join our community, as we've got fantastic content here. So thank you very much, be well, and have a great day. Thank you for watching.